Yo, what is up guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So this video essentially is a schedule update for boxing in January. We will be going through the main fights of January. I'll share my brief opinions on these fights, tell you when they take place and how to watch basically. It's basically a schedule update for January. If this video goes well, we may do this for every month of the year. We'll see how this video goes and we'll go from there basically. But you know, traditionally January is a quiet month for boxing. But this January we actually have a couple of good fights to look out for. So we shall start with Ryan Garcia versus Luke Campbell. Now this fight takes place on the 2nd of January, as you can see. And this fight really intrigues me. I've actually already done an official prediction for this fight on my channel. So if you want to check that out, you can do. My official pick is Ryan Garcia on points. But ultimately, it's a massive test for Ryan Garcia. And you may say it's last chance saloon for Luke Campbell. This really is a crossroads fight because if Luke loses, his days at world level really are numbered. And if Ryan loses, he's going to be viewed as a hype job. And, you know, people are going to say he was exposed. So there's a lot on the line for both fighters. Stylistically, I think this fight should gel really well. It's an interesting clash of styles. And, you know, I cannot wait for this fight. It's a massive step up for Ryan Garcia. This certainly is the acid test. How good is he? We're going to find out on January 2nd. But I really, really like that main event. On DAZN in the US and also in the UK. So if you've not got DAZN, sign up for it to watch this fight. On this card also, you've got Rene Alvarado versus Roger Gutierrez. Now this fight right here could actually surprise a lot of people. I fully expect this fight to be a real sort of fan-friendly affair. Both guys are relatively aggressive. Both guys are strong. Rene Alvarado has came up the hard way. He's got a few losses on his resume, but he's coming into some real good form now, fighting the best he's ever fought in his career, and he's now the WBA super featherweight champion. So he's come a long way, Rene Alvarado, extremely tough guy, and he's in with a tough guy in Roger Gutierrez. Roger Gutierrez, for those who don't know, actually recently upset the Mexican prospect Eduardo Hernandez, who was highly touted, so that should be a really good fight. Both guys are aggressive, both guys come to bring it, so I fully expect this fight here to be a fan-friendly affair. And also on this card, you've got Felix Alvarado versus DJ Creel. Now, Felix Alvarado, one of the better fighters in the lighter weight classes, doesn't really get too much coverage, unfortunately, but Felix Alvarado is a real good fighter, and quite frankly, I fully expect him to win that fight against DJ Creel. But all in all, for an early January card, I think that's a real good card by Golden Boy on DAZN, I have to say. So, you know, this card to me is worth watching, some good fights on it, mainly the main event, but even the co-main event is a real fun fight, so check that card out. We then move to Friday the 22nd of January, some domestic action in the UK. You've got Karim Gurfi versus Lee McGregor. That is for the European bantamweight title. A good test for Lee McGregor. Lee McGregor is a good prospect, only had 9 fights, had that real hard fight with Ukashir Farouk. And, you know, Lee McGregor's a solid fighter in my opinion. And Karim Gurfi is a former European champion. He's definitely European level. So this is going to be a real good test for Lee McGregor. I'm assuming this fight in the UK will be on IFL TV online for free. In the US, it's on ESPN Plus. But here, this could be a decent little fight. I expect Lee McGregor to win, but I do believe he's going to be tested. You've also got Sean McComb versus Gavin Gwynn, and that is for the Commonwealth lightweight title. You know, that in itself should be a real good fight, evenly matched, a step up for Sean McComb. So yeah, that should be a good fight in itself. And also on the undercard, you know, you've got a few prospects fighting like P.S. O'Leary, Paddy Donovan, etc. So, you know, if you're free on Friday, I think that card is definitely worth checking out. On the 23rd of January, we have a card with, a PBC card, sorry. I believe this is PBC. You have Angelo Leo versus Stephen Fulton. Now, I really like this fight. This fight was supposed to happen last year, but Stephen Fulton pulled out injured, and Angelo Leo then fought for the vacant title, which he won. And Angelo Leo is going to be defending that title against Stephen Fulton. That should be a real competitive fight. I make Stephen Fulton the slight favourite, to be honest. I'm just a little more impressed with him. But, you know, it's an evenly matched affair. Both guys are unbeaten. Both guys are young. So, yeah, that fight is definitely worth checking out. And also on the card, for those interested, you've got the return of Rolando Romero. Now, Rolando Romero, of course, is coming off that highly controversial win over Jackson Martinez. So he's looking for a good performance against Justin Puldo. Never seen Justin Puldo fight before, so what that fight brings us, I don't know. But I will say I've never really been impressed with Rolando Romero. So we'll see how he looks, but not really expecting too much from Rolando Romero. And on the 30th of January, we have a great fight in the UK. Let me find it first. Here we go. David Avanesian versus Josh Kelly. 30th of January on Sky Sports in the UK, DAZN in the US. David Avanesian versus Josh Kelly for the European welterweight title. Again, you know, this really is the acid test for Josh Kelly. When Josh Kelly turned pro, he was getting a lot of hype. But, you know, a couple of bad performances, that hype has certainly died down. And he's in need of rebuilding that momentum he had at the start of his career. And I'll tell you what, Avanesian's going to be a stern test for Josh Kelly. It really is. We're going to find out exactly what we need to know about Josh Kelly in this fight. Avanesian's a pressure fighter. He carries power. He's coming off some really good form. Beat Kerman Lejaraga twice. Knocked him out twice. So Avanesian is in the best shape of his career. The best form of his career. And he should be a real hard test for Josh Kelly. Also on this card, you've got Florian Marku versus Ryland Charlton. Ryland Charlton, of course, knocked out Joe Laws. Florian Marku is a big name in Albania. He's a relatively fun fighter. Both guys are aggressive. Both guys seem to carry some sort of power. So this one right here, Marku versus Charlton, should be a fun little fight. And one of the more surprising fights in January, and one of the better fights in January, is Sergey Kovalev versus Bektemir Melikuziev. You know, Sergey Kovalev, former light heavyweight champion, against a prospect in Melikuziev. Melikuziev, only 24 years old, coming up in weight from super middleweight to fight Kovalev. So that's a big test for Bektemir Melikuziev. Can he pass that test against Kovalev? Who knows? You know, Kovalev definitely is past his best these days, as we've seen in his last few fights. But for a guy who's 6-0 at 24 years old, coming up in weight, that's a hell of a risk. A hell of a risk. And I simply cannot wait for this fight. I really can't. That should be a real interesting fight. I'm not making my official pick yet on that one. I'll really have to think about that. So I highly recommend you guys check this one out. I'm not sure what channel it's going to be on. Actually, no, it's going to be on DAZN in the UK and the US. So watch out for that one. And one more thing to look out for actually in January 30th is Sadruddin Akhmedov. He is going to be fighting Stephen Danyo. Akhmedov is actually a real solid prospect. He's worth watching, you know, super welterweight, a good prospect. So if you get some time, check him out, see what you think. I think he's a pretty good prospect personally. But that pretty much summarises the schedule for January. And no, sorry, we've got Caleb Plant versus Caleb Truax. I mean, that fight is what it is. It's a simple defense for Caleb Plant. You know, Caleb Truax, he's seen better days, was never that great to begin with. You know, we all know the result of this fight right here. Caleb Plant's going to win. But, yeah, I would say a pretty strong January, all things considered. Like I said, usually January is pretty weak. But this January, we've got some fights to look out for. In particular, the Ryan Garcia versus Luke Campbell fight, the Kovalev versus Melikuziev fight, Avanesian Kelly. We do have some good fights this month, to be fair. And, yeah, those are the fights that you should really be looking out for. And I'm assuming, yeah, Plant versus Truax is going to be on Fox in the USA. So there we go. That is my January schedule video. Yeah, share your thoughts below. What are your favourite fights for this month? Share your thoughts. Peace.